All right, in this video, we are going to do the IMSA, that's the Intermediate Math Skills Assessment, and we're going to do the quantitative reasoning, algebra, and statistics sample test posted on the Algonquin College website. So let's get started here with question number 1. Which of the following expression is 5 times as much as the sum of R and S? So this is converting a word expression into an algebraic expression. So let's do it. 5 times is 5 multiplied by as much as the sum. So because they say it like that, we have to put a bracket, because 5 times as much as the sum, and inside the bracket, sum means addition. So we have R plus S. So the right solution for this one, the only answer that matches is part D. It's written backwards, but basically the exact solution, R plus S times 5, but has to be inside a bracket because we're doing the sum first and then the multiplication later. This second question is an algebraic equation, but now we have fractions. So lots of ways to do these questions. If you're really good at math with fractions, you can do this instantly without using any tricks. But I'm going to show you a trick to make this question a lot easier. What you want to do is you want to find a common denominator for the entire equation. So over here, I have 2, 2, 4, and over here, there's no denominator, so it's a 1. So my largest common denominator is going to be 4. Or I guess my lowest common denominator, my largest. Lowest common denominator is 4. Okay, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4 so that I can get rid of this denominator. So times by 4. So over here, this is the first term. If I multiply this by 4, I'm only multiplying the top here by 4. So 1 times 4 is 4, which means I'm left with 4 over 2x. This is all one expression over here in the middle. So again, I'm only multiplying the number on the top by 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And then 1 times 4 is just 4. And 5 times 4 is 20. Now I want to simplify my fractions. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And now this is just a regular algebraic equation. We just have to solve it. I'll start by multiplying this 6 into this bracket. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 1 is 6. Then I'll combine like terms on the left side. So 2x plus 6x is 8x. 6 minus 1 is 5. Then I'm going to move the 5 to the other side and subtract it on the other side. 20 minus 5 is just 15. I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides to isolate the x. So x is just 15 divided by 8. So the right answer for this question is C. Okay, let's go to the third question over here. What is the number of grams in 500 kilograms? And they give you a hint, 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So if I have 500 kilograms, the amount of grams has to be a huge number because 1 kilogram is 1,000. So 500 is going to be a huge number. It means we have to multiply over here. If I do 500 times 1,000, there's an easy way to do this calculation without having to do long steps. You simply just, if you're multiplying by multiples of 10, like 10, 100, 1,000, you simply just take the original number 500. Then you add the number of zeros by what you're multiplying by. And again, you can only do this with 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000 multiples of 10. So we have 3 more zeros. I'm going to add 3 more zeros, which means the right answer is D. It's going to be 500,000 grams. Let's go to question number 4. And sorry about the little bits of ink missing there. It looks like my printer is running out of ink at some point soon. Robert sells 4 different flavors of jam at an annual farmer's market. The graph above shows the number of jars of each type of jam he sold at the market during the first 2 years. So this is blueberry in the first year, and this is blueberry in the second year. In the first year, he sold 10 jars, and in the second year, he sold, I'd say, about 17 or 18. A bit hard to tell over there, get an exact value, but we'll see how necessary those are for the calculations. Which flavor of jam had the largest increase in the number of jars sold from year 1 to year 2? So blueberry had a nice increase. Grape had a slightly smaller increase. Peach also, you can tell, slightly smaller increase. And strawberry, this is a huge decrease. So we can rule out strawberry instantly. You can tell straight away from looking at this that going from 10 to 17 or 18 is about 7 or 8. Going from 25 to 30 is 5. So this one is definitely less than blueberry. And over here, I'm going from about 7 or 8 to like 12 or 13, which is about 5 or 6 as well. So these two, while they are increases, are definitely much smaller than this increase here, because this is at least an increase of 7 to 8, which means that blueberry had the largest increase. We're just reading off the y values here. This is like 18 minus 10, which is an increase of 8 jars. Here it's 30 minus 25, which is an increase of 5 jars. And here again, it's like, I'd say this is probably 7 or 8 till like 12. So 7 to 12 is 5 jars. So 8 jars, 5 jars, 5 jars. This one we can rule out because it's a decrease, which means the right answer is blueberry for this question, largest increase in the number of jars. Go to question number 5. In the xy plane, a line crosses the y-axis at the point 0, 3. So we have a y-intercept here and passes through the point 4, 5. Which of the following is an equation of the line? So again, a lot of different ways to do this question, but I'm just going to show you the simple one. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's my equation for slope of a line. Y2 is just here 5. Y1 is 3. That's just the y values of the 2 points. X2 is over here 4. And x1 is over here 0. That's just 2 divided by 4. And we can divide these both by 2, which simplifies to 1 over 2. Now the equation for a slope, I'll do it up here because I don't have space for the next question. So y equals mx plus b is the equation for a line in the xy plane. We found the slope to be 1 over 2. So y equals to 1 over 2x. And then the y-intercept is given in the question as 0, 3. B is just the y-intercept, which is 3. Final answer, y equals to 1 over 2x plus 3. That is solution A. Okay, let's go to question number 6. And this is the one I didn't really have any space for, which is why I want to leave this little bit of space here. The amount of money M in dollars Paul earns can be represented by this equation over here. Again, this equation is just a linear equation in the form y equals mx plus b. So this over here, 12.5 is my slope. And this over here is my y-intercept. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 11 in the equation? The amount of money Paul earns each hour, the total amount of money Paul earns, the total amount of money Paul earns after working for 1 hour, the amount of money Paul earns in addition to the hourly wage. So when you have a linear equation, your slope is always your rate, which in this case would be his hourly wage. Okay, so he's making $12.5 per hour, but they're asking us about the number 11, which is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is always the fixed amount, which means that this is the fixed. Paul is going to be paid $11 no matter how many hours he works. So the solution to this question is the amount of money in dollars Paul earns in addition to the hourly wage. Because it doesn't matter if he works 0 hours or if he works 10 hours, he's going to make this $11 no matter what. And then for each extra hour he works, he makes an extra $12.5. So basically, the amount of money Paul earns each hour is 12.5. The total amount of money Paul earns is basically M. The total amount of money Paul earns after working for 1 hour, we can replace the H with 1 hour. We can calculate M, which will be 23.5, because 12.5 times 1 is 12.5 plus 11 is $23.5. But 11 just represents the amount of money Paul earns in addition to his hourly wage. Next question here, they give us a table with a bunch of countries in Europe and their approximate populations. And they say that which of these following is closest to the mean population of these countries. So to find the mean population, we got to average all these values out. This means we got to add them all up and divide by the total number of countries. So let's just find the total population first by doing 65.9 plus 80.8 plus 60.8 plus 46.5 plus 64.3. So 9 plus 8 is 17, 25, 30, 33. And then I'm going to put a 3 up here because the other 3 carries forward. Now, if you notice, oops, I accidentally hit my camera. If you notice, we only have one answer for the 3 at the end there, so we already know the right solution is going to be B, most likely, for this question. Oh no, sorry, I got to average it out as well. So don't disregard that because I got to divide the final answer by 5. So let's disregard that for now. Let's keep doing our calculation. 3 plus 5 is 8, plus 0 plus 0 is still 8, plus 6 is 14, plus 4 is 18. 1 carries over. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 8 is 15, 21, 25, 31. So we have 318.3, and we need to divide this by 5. So I can't divide 3 by 5, so let's start by dividing 31 by 5. 31, 5 goes 6 times into 31. 6 times 5 is 30, so I'm left with 1. Bring down the 8. 5 goes 3 times into 18. 5 times 3 is 15. I subtract that, so I'm left with 3. 5 doesn't go into 3, so I'll add the decimal point over here. And since I added the decimal point, I can bring down the first decimal term now, which is 33. 5 goes 6 times into 33. 6 times 5 is 30. I subtract that, I'm left with 3. Put another 0 here, because once you put the first 0 on the decimal point, you can keep adding infinite zeros. 5 goes 6 times minus 30, which is 0. So 63.66, if I round it to one decimal place, the correct answer is C, is 63.66. 7. All right, we are done the first sheet out of 3 sheets in this test. Let's get on to this second sheet over here. Which of the following fractions is equivalent to this? So this is pretty simple. Let's just do the calculation. First things first is we have a double negative here. We have to get rid of it and turn it into a positive. So that's negative 6 plus 9 over 8. Negative 6 plus 9 is just positive 3. So 3 over 8 is the final solution, which is B. Water runs from a pump at a rate of 1.5 gallons per minute. At this rate, how long would it take to fill a bathtub with 150 gallon, or not a bathtub, but a tub with 150 gallon capacity? I like to do cross multiplication for questions like this. So cross multiplication, 1.5 gallons for 1 minute. You just have to put the same unit above the same unit. So I have 150 gallons, and I need to find out how long it will take, which is going to be represented by X minutes. That's how you set up cross multiplication. You make sure the same unit is above itself. So minutes over minutes and grams over grams. Now I'm going to cross multiply. So 1.5 times X is just 1.5X, and 150 times 1 is just 150. So that's how we cross multiply. And we just have to solve for X. Divide by 1.5 on both sides. 150 divided by 1.5. You should be able to do this mentally. If not, you have to do long division, but this is a pretty easy calculation to do mentally. I'll even make it a bit easier. I'll multiply the top and bottom by 0. So you have 1,500, or by 10, I mean. I multiply the top and bottom by 10 to get rid of the decimal places. So you have 1,500 divided by 15. Then I can just cancel out this 15, and when I cancel out this 15, there's just a 1 left over there, which means that 1,500 divided by 15 is just 100. The right answer for this one is B, 100 minutes. If you don't know how to divide quickly like this, I suggest practicing a bit with easier numbers and getting used to it. If not, you have to end up doing long division for a problem like this. So I showed a bit earlier of one long division. You should be generally good with long division and practice your multiplication and long division before attempting this test, because those are really, really important to know for a lot of questions in this test. The volume of a right rectangular prism is found by multiplying the length of the base, the width, and by the width of the base and the height of the prism. Basically, volume equals length times width times height. If the height of this prism is 6 inches and the volume is 30, what is the area of the base of the prism? So they're giving us the volume is 30, and then the height is 6. And they're asking us to find the area. What is the area of a prism? The area of a prism is just the length times the width. And we have the length times the width here, which we can replace with the area. So it's just area times 6. Then we want to get rid of the 6, so we're going to divide both sides by 6, which means that the area is 5 square inches, which is the answer to A. So this one's a bit of a tricky one, but just remember that length times width is the area. We're just replacing the length times width with the area. Normally they would give us the width and the height, ask us to find the length. The procedure would be kind of similar, but we won't be replacing this with the area. That's a little trick in that question over there. All right, halfway through, let's get to number 11. Jacobi, I don't know how to pronounce that, followed a recipe that requires 2 cups of water for 3 cups of flour. he used 8 cups of flour. How many cups of water did he use? So again, this is a perfect question for cross multiplication. 2 cups of water gives me 3 cups of flour. And then he used 8 cups of flour. So flour has to be above flour. So 8 cups of flour and then X cups of water. Going to cross multiply. X times 3 is just 3x. 2 times 8 is 16. I'll divide both sides by 3 to isolate x. So x equals 16 over 3. Now 16 over 3 is none of the solutions here, but we have two mixed fractions which it could potentially be because they all both have the same denominator. So let's do the division of this. If you can't do it mentally, just use this long division over here. So 3 goes 5 times into 16. 3 times 5 is 15, and I'm left with just 1. So my final answer is 5, and remainder is 1. My divisor is 3. So right answer is C, 5 1/3 cups of water. Okay, which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? All right, so we have a lot of different possibilities here. Let's just start by simplifying this expression. I'm going to multiply the 4 into the bracket to begin with because we get rid of brackets first. So 4x plus 20 plus 4x plus 8, and then just combine like terms. 4x plus 4x is 8x. 20 plus 8 is 28. So now let me look at the solutions here. It doesn't match C and it does not match D. A and B have brackets, so I want to see if it matches one of these two. Let's start by expanding A. 4 times 2x is 8x, so that matches. 4 times 7 is 28. Oh, I don't know why I wrote 27. So I know that these two answers match, which means that the correct solution is A. All right, question number 13. To count 90 minutes to complete 40 tasks, which of the following is an equivalent rate? 10 tasks in, okay. So again, perfect for cross multiplication. This is why I always teach my students cross multiplication. Strongly recommend you know that. It's useful in so many different questions and so many different places, even in different courses as well. So 90 minutes. 40 tasks, and then 10 tasks. So tasks have to be above tasks, and x minutes to complete that. We need to find x. So I'll cross multiply over here. I'll write on the top. X times 40 is 40x. 90 times 10, you should be able to do that mentally. It's just 900. Just adding the 0 onto the end of that. I showed that a bit earlier in this video. Now divide both sides by 40. So 900 divided by 40, I can actually cancel out the two zeros. X equals 90 divided by 4. 90 divided by 4 is none of the answers over here, but you can kind of obviously tell that the right answer is D because these values are too small. Okay, 90 divided by 10 is 9. So 90 divided by 4 is going to be even larger. But if you can't figure it out, I'm going to do the long division over here with you. So don't worry too much if you can't get that step mentally, but you should be able to kind of tell that. That's a good kind of way to make sure you're doing the questions correct. 4 goes 2 times into 9. Subtract. 4 times 2 is 8. I'm left with 1. Bring down is 0. 4 goes 2 times into 10, so you can already tell we're hitting 0.2.5 at some point. Subtract 8 over here, we're left with 2. 4 doesn't go into 2, so I'll put a decimal point and add a 0. 4 goes 5 times into 20. Subtract by 20, and I'm left with 0, and as you can see, the solution is 22.5. All right, let's go to number 14. Table above shows a survey of 50 voters in a city. Each voter was asked whether they planned to vote yes or no on 2 different issues. If a voter plans to vote yes on issue P is randomly selected, what is the probability that the voter also plans to vote yes on issue Q? So this is a conditional probability question. It says if a voter who plans to vote yes on issue P is randomly selected, so plans to vote yes on issue P is right here, which is this row. So in this question, we are only looking at the numbers in this row. We are disregarding the rest of the table because it does not matter anymore, because it says if a voter who plans to vote yes on issue P, which is that. What is the probability that the voter also plans to vote yes on issue Q? Plans to vote yes on issue Q is 8, and my total is 20. So now I just have to calculate it and see which one it matches over here. 8 divided by 20. 20 doesn't go into 8, so I'll put a decimal point and put a 0 before as well. Add a 0. And then 20 goes 4 times into 80. And you're just left with 0. So the right answer is 0.4, which is part C. Question number 15, which of the following is equivalent to 5 to the power of -3? So if you have 5 to the power of -3, the first thing you have to do is get rid of the negative exponent by moving this term to the denominator. It's only going to be a 1 left in the top because we're kind of flipping it and there's nothing left in the top. So now you can make your exponent positive. Then we have to calculate 5 to the power of 3. 5 to the power of 3 is just 5 times 5 times 5, which should be relatively simple. 5 times 5 is 25. You have to be able to do that without a calculator for this exam. 25 times 5 is again an easy calculation. I'm not going to show it. It's just 125. So my final answer here is going to be 1 divided by 125, which is B. Okay, let's go to question number 16. This is an algebraic expression and we need to simplify it. So whenever we have the same letter and they're multiplying, we add exponents. And since it's inside a bracket, that's the first thing I'm going to do there. I'm going to add the exponents here. So 3 plus 2 is just 5. Then when you have an exponent to another exponent, you are multiplying. So 5 times 5 is 25, which means my final answer is x to the power of 25, which is C. All right, on to the last page over here, the last few questions, 17 to 20. The elevation at the summit of Mount Whitney is 4418 meters above sea level. Climbers begin at a trailhead that has an elevation of 2550 meters above sea level. What is the change in elevation to the nearest foot between the trailhead and the summit? 1 foot equals. So this is a slightly more difficult question because once we get the meters, we need to convert from meters to feet as well, which is why we're going to do cross multiplication in this question as well. But I'm going to start with the subtraction. I'll do it up here so I have no space. 4418 is the summit of the mountain, and climbers start at 2550. So I'm going to subtract that 2550. It's going to tell me exactly how much they climbed. 8 minus 0 is 8. Got to borrow for the next one. So 11 minus 5 is 6. Again, I got to borrow, so this I'll make this a 3, and this is a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So the climbers climbed 1868 meters, but now we have to convert these to feet. And again, I'm going to use cross multiplication here. So 1 foot is 0.3048 meters. And then I got to convert this to feet. So x feet, and this is 1868 meters. Now I'm going to cross multiply. So 1 times, well, x times this is 0.3048x, and 1 times this is just the same thing. And then we're going to divide both sides by 0.3048 divide by 0.3048. So this over here is a really tough calculation to do. Yeah, write it at the bottom of the sheet actually, just to show you how I'm going to do it. If we look at the answers, they're not too close together. The second and third one are slightly close, I guess, but these two are far apart. So what we can do is we can kind of approximate this to just 0.3 for now and see what happens, because this calculation is a bit easier. I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 10 to get rid of the fraction. This becomes 18680, and this just becomes 3. And now I'm doing this division here. And I'm going to see what I get from this division and evaluate that for this question. So 3 goes 6 times into 18. 3 goes 2 times into 6. 3 goes 2 times into 8. 2 times 3 is 6. So 8 minus 6 is 2. 3 goes 6 times into 20 minus 18. I'm left with a remainder of 2. I don't have to worry about decimals because it says whole number in this question. I'm going to see if this is really close. 6226, is it close? I can tell that it's really close to C over here. And I know that if I increase this number slightly, if I make the number on the bottom slightly higher, this will go slightly lower, which means that it's very likely that the correct solution is C. In a question like this, you don't want to really do the exact calculation. While it's actually possible to do the exact calculation a couple of different ways, it's going to take a bit of time. It's going to be pretty difficult. And you want to approximate in a question like this. You want to start getting used to approximating a bit, because as you get to harder courses, you will have to learn to approximate answers like this, especially in non-calculator tests. So definitely important to know a question like this and then to approximate the answer based on this solution over here. Next question gives us 3x minus 2y equals to 15, which is a diagonal line, and x equals to 3, which is a vertical line. The two lines given by the equations intersect in the xy plane. What is the value of the y coordinate of the point of intersection? So pretty simple. If you want to find a point of intersection, you simply equate the two equations together. I know over here that x equals to 3, so I can replace this x over here with a 3. And now I can solve for y. I know that the x point of intersection is definitely going to be 3, because this only has an x value of 3, the second equation. But I can calculate the y value of the point of intersection by solving this equation. So I'll start by doing 3 times 3, which is 9. Then I'll subtract the 9 on the other side. 15 minus 9 is just 6. I'll divide both sides by -2 to get rid of that. 6 divided by -2 is just -3. So correct solution is B, which is -3. Go to question number 19, which is another probability question over here. L is equal to 0, 20, 40, 80, 100. M is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And N is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Which of the following steps represent L union M intersection N? So really important, U is basically union, which means and that represents I don't remember the actual word for it, but I know it's or might be intersection. M or I don't know if it's intersection or not, but it's an or. So basically the U stands for an and the N stands for an or. First thing we want to do is a bracket, which is M or N. So, oh, I did this wrong, by the way. I did this backwards. This is an or. That's why I got confused for a sec. This is intersection, which is also and. That's why I was confused for a sec. I did it backwards. So U stands for union, which is or. N stands for intersection, which is also and. I like to think of them or and. So, but I'm going to start by doing M and N. Okay, so let's look at the data set of M and let's look at the data set of N and let's look at M and N, which is basically what repeats in both of them. 5 is not there in both of them. 10 is there in both of them. 15 is not there in both of them. 20 is there in both of them. 25 is not there in both of them. 30, 40, 50 are not there in both of them. So this over here is M intersection N. Now I'm going to do the whole thing, which is L or intersection of M and N. So I'm going to look at L over here, and I'm going to look at this over here. In order to do this, we just have to list out all the values in both of these. Don't worry about any repetitions and list them from the smallest to the biggest. That's how you do an OR. You just list all the values. Let's look at L and this over here. If I compare these two, this first smallest one is 0. The next smallest one is 10. The next smallest one is 20, which repeats in both, but you only want to write it once. Then I have 40, 80, and 100 because there's nothing else there. And the correct answer for this one is B, which is basically L union the intersection of M and N. And let's go to the last question here in this test. So we have a triangle in the xy plane, and the coordinates of the vertex Q are 2 and -3. So x value is 2, y value is -3. It's rotated 180 degrees clockwise above the origin. So it doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. If it's 180 degrees, it'll end up basically in the same place. But think about it clockwise. It's like rotated like this clockwise. And it's going to end up if I rotate this 180 degrees, it's going to end up over here at -2, +3. If I rotate it 180 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't matter. And then it's reflected across the y-axis. So this is the y-axis right here. If I reflect this on the y-axis, it's going to come over here, which is now positive 2 and positive 3, which is basically part D. If you made it to the end of this video and you found this content helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.